Our topic today is marketing, an introduction to marketing. Let's start with a quote from Philip Kotler, the guru of marketing. What he says, that marketing is easy to teach and understand, but very difficult to practice. Let's see what it means. You will find that if you read books, you listen to people, you can get a lot about the concepts which are involved in marketing. But when you go to real life situation, when you are actually going to actually practice marketing, that's where a lot of extra skill sets come in, and you get to understand every day. You may find that marketing reveals to you new types of thought processes, new types of concepts which you can see in the actual practicing in the real world. Marketing management, as per me, I believe that it involves a lot of common sense. You have to have a lot of curiosity, and you have to think a lot. And this thinking has got to be both, it has to be lateral as well as you have also to think very deep. I'll start with a particular introduction of this. Two words I'm going to talk about, needs and wants. Any marketing process, you will find that whatever is a commercial activity, the commercial activity primarily is involved around marketing. You'll have either something, a product or a service. It can be a financial service. It can be any type of a household, common, daily needs item. But primarily there is something which has got to be marketed. And at the center of this entire process, there is a customer. This customer has got a need, and marketing has got to satisfy that need. But there is a subtle difference between these two words, a need and a want. Need is something which basically shows a state of, something is lacking. There is a state of deprivation. So what will happen? Somebody may have like a need for commuting, a need for education, a need for food. There's a need. But when it comes to what the customer will want, like in that commuting, whether they will want a car, they will want a two-wheeler, they will take a public conveyance. Now that's something which they want, but the basic need is for commuting. Similarly, when it comes to satisfying an hunger, the basic need will be that the person is hungry, they need some, but what food they will take, what they will want, that can change. And here lies a basic thing, because in marketing what we try to do, can we look around and see, is there a need gap? Is there a problem that basically requires a solution? Now, if such a gap is found, then what a marketer can do, they can see whether they can offer something which can satisfy that need, which can give a solution to that problem. So once having seen that, then the marketer can see, is it possible for them to make a commercial success out of it? Can they make a commercial proposition by which, while they are satisfying that need of the consumer or the customer, they are also in their own way making profits? So in a way, we can find that marketing ultimately evolves around satisfying a customer or a consumer's requirement and profitably. Now this is important because ultimately it's a commercial activity. It's not a charity. So since it's a commercial activity, there has got to be a profit. So the marketer has also to see whether that proposition is viable. So it ultimately comes in whether for the customer, is there a desirability for it? Is there an affordability? Can they afford it? And for the marketer, is the whole thing viable? So three issues we get: desirability, affordability, and viability. But primarily it is centering around what is that particular need. Now let us see what can need be. We'll come to this a bit later. There are two other words which I've got: prospects and demands. Let's move a little. Let's move around this and let's see what we can get. I'll take you through a few. Now let us see these. Now Kit Kat is a chocolate which is basically, you'll find it's a wafer which is coated with chocolate. Now this is very popular. This is an absolutely successful brand from Nestle. But in chocolate you have also got this other variety, which is basically what they say dairy milk. That means it's a chocolate bar. There is no wafer inside. Here we find that Cadbury's is extremely popular. Whereas When we look at Nestle's milk chocolate, this is not that popular. And when we look at the wafer coated with chocolate of Cadbury's, which is Perks, it is comparatively not that popular. Now see, both are, if we can observe, both are big companies. Both are spending so much of money when it comes to advertising, promotion. Their products are so good. Yet, when it comes to the customer, we discover that when it comes to a wafer coated with chocolate, if that is the offering, which is basically this variety, in this Nestle is more popular than Cadbury. Whereas when it comes to a milk chocolate, we find that Cadbury is more popular. Now this takes us, friends, to something that what the customer basically is wanting. The need in the case of a chocolate may be what? There may be so many types of needs. Somebody may say it's a snacking, somebody say for taste, somebody may say excitement, somebody may say fun. Now, whatever these types of needs are, when it comes to satisfying that particular need, in a particular variant, we discover that of one company's, one variant is more successful than the other. Now, a marketeer basically has to see which particular part of that need is being fulfilled. And if they are able to get that correctly, then they have got a successful formula. This is what basically comes when we look at the market and we look at the consumer. We have to see what basically is the need gap. Many companies are very successful in this and they make successful products. Sometimes what happens over a period of time, that particular delivery may also fade away. Let us see a few more such instances. Amul, for instance, in butter, they are absolutely ruling the roost. But Amul also has got a chocolate. And here again we find this very successful company when it comes to chocolate, somehow it is not that successful. We'll have to think. Parle-G, this glucose variant, as a matter of fact, recently it has come out, they have become practically number one in the biscuit segment. Ruled primarily by a glucose biscuit. Britannia, their competitor, they have been trying a lot with their glucose variant. Britannia also very successful, but in this particular variant, it is Parle which is ruling. See again, what is happening, what the customer is going to want, that may decide the success or the failure of the company. Whereas these same two companies, when it comes to this variant, which is basically bourbon or chocolate based, we find that Britannia is much more successful than Parle. Again, a point we have got to ponder. Two very big successful companies, very strong in the marketplace, but when it comes to a product variant, while one is successful or one, in the other variant, the other one is more successful. This radio, Murphy radio, was an extremely popular radio at one time. Today, it's no longer there, it's gone. Bajaj Chetak, people used to have a waiting line. Today we find it's not in its past glory. HMT watches, at one time this was practically what the Indian watch industry was. Today again we find it's not there. Horlicks, at one time, if you recall, it was synonymous with, anybody who is convulsing after some type of an illness or something, this was a must. Remember those ads used to come with the doctor with the stethoscope, saying recommended by the doctor. Today, this white beverage as a category itself is not anywhere around. So what has Horlicks done? They have now changed their entire stance. They have gone into other types of variants. You may either doing for women, they are having for kids, bringing in excitement and trying to revive this particular brand. Pepsi. Crystal, this did not work because what they have got the cola variant, they have also been trying to get others. This particular variant didn't work. Ambassador, one time practically the king of the roads. Today it's there, but it's still struggling because with the onslaught of so many other vehicles, this particular car has lost its sheen. This was a very successful campaign at one time. It's still there, but it may not be in its past glory. Kelvinator, one time, if you recall, refrigerator market was only Kelvinators, practically, Kelvinator, Leonard and Gem. What does this lead us to? If we look at, we find that over a period of time, consumers, customers, even if the need remains there, they switch. So what happens, what they were wanting at one time, at another time, they may be wanting something else. This, friends, is one of the inherent, basic principles which one has got to understand if one has to be a successful marketer. And that is, how can we get to know what is basically the consumer's needs? What is their basic needs? And then I've got to see, can I make something which satisfies the need, but I can make my thing a little different from others, and thereby, through my various things, as we proceed, we'll find, through my various, strategies, my various different types of concept, with different types of messages, different type of strategy in placing the product, which we basically call the elements of the marketing mix. We'll see that a bit later. How I can ensure that what I am now producing and giving, which is basically going to satisfy that need of the consumer or the customer, that they proactively want the products. This basically lies at the center of marketing. So, if I can sum it up at this stage, a successful marketer will first have to spot, are there need gaps in the market? In the environment, are there need gaps? That means there is a substantial amount of audience, there is a substantial amount of population who is lacking something from the various assortments of products and services which are there available. There is still some spot where they feel that they are not getting what they have been needing. Now, if that can be spotted and the organization or the company decides that based on the resources, the other capabilities that they have, if they can come with a solution or with something which can satisfy that need, then they can come with a product or a service. Then the question comes, how does that organization ensure that that particular target audience proactively wants this offering? And here, the entire everything of marketing hovers around here. And in the next, an hour or two that I'm going to talk here, I'm going to basically take you through some of the issues which are relevant with this. And in this, we'll systematically see how do you actually do an environmental scan, how do we find whether there are opportunities, and then how do we, after we have come with something which we feel can satisfy that, how do we research it, how do we find out whether it will work, and then we go about how we are going to make that particular product a success in the market.